Good afternoon. I'm Taylor Combaluzier, a mining analyst here at Red Cloud Securities. We would like to extend our thanks to Weirfolds for sponsoring this session. Our next presenter is Andrew Pollard, who's the president and CEO and director of Blackrock Silver Corp. Blackrock Silver is focused on advancing its 100% owned or controlled Tonopah West project in Tonopah, Nevada, where a maiden resource is expected imminently. Andrew, you'll have 15 minutes for the presentation, and then we'll have a Q&A session afterwards. Please take it away.
Awesome. Well, I think you just set it up pretty good because we are expecting our maiden resource by the end of Q1 here. So I can't think of a better time to get in front of you all today. For those of you that aren't familiar, we trade on, well, 3 exchanges, but 2 real ones, and Frankfurt's anyone's guess. But our symbol's BRC on the venture and BKRRF on the OTCQX. And if I can move this forward, certainly going to be making some forward-looking statements. I think that's what I'm going to call my boat one of these days, assuming we get taken out. But yes, everything I'm going to be discussing here will be related to the maiden resource and really beyond that. So we're not going to be going too far into the future here. Some very exciting developments since I've given any previous presentation was just yesterday, we closed a $5 million financing with Eric Sprott, which now makes him the largest shareholder of our company at just under 10%. No one likes financings, but if you saw the deal that we were able to do with Eric, I can't think of anything more bullish, knowing that we're going to have a resource out by the end of the month here. He wrote us a $5 million check with a 4-month hold, 0 warrants attached, 0 half warrants, and he paid effectively market prices. We halted our stock at 89 cents. He paid 88 cents. I can't think of anything more bullish than him wanting to effectively pay market rate before we get the resource out. And I'll tell you what got him excited. Some other things to note here. In addition to Eric, we've had buy-in last year. I guess technical validation really from First Majestic Silver, who is doing everything they can to offset their jurisdictional risk outside of Mexico, and we're their first investment after they bought Jerritt Canyon in Nevada. Now you see our stock price here. This is a 3-year chart. It's been a wild 3 years. I'm coming up on my 3-year anniversary of joining the company. Came in May of 2019. We were 3-cent stock and $1.2 million market cap. This wasn't a new deal. This was a turnaround. The story wasn't circling the gutter. It was halfway down the drain when we came in here. What we did was we built a brand new management team. We reconstituted the board, and then we started putting one foot in front of the other. It was 2 years ago this month that we announced that we'd signed an option to acquire control of the Tonopah Silver District, which has become our maiden resource estimate. And you can probably see on there in July of 2020, when we announced the results from our very first drill hole, it added $100 million to our market cap overnight. And, now we're trading at $152 million. And what you'll see there timing wise that was the week we announced our first drill hole. There was the week gold was at its all-time high of $2,100 an ounce. Silver was 30. Looks like we've been trading water ever since then, but you've seen the GDXJ go down pretty much consistently every month since then. And we were one of the few silver stories last year to finish the year green. So even though it looks like we've been trading water, we've been adding value all along the way. And I think we're poised for pretty much what I see as being the biggest re-rate we've had since we had our first drill hole, and really setting up the next leg of growth for us, which is us backstopping our valuation with ounces in the ground and creating a real step-by-step path forward to growing this project and moving it up that development curve. So what is the project? Tonopah Silver District is the second largest silver district in Nevada, second to only the Comstock lode. And unlike the Comstock lode, which effectively petered out naturally over the span of about 20 or 30 good years from discovery in 1860s to petering out in 1890s, Tonopah didn't peter out naturally. Tonopah was a victim of the business side of mining. It was discovered in 1900, had 30 good years, but unfortunately in the mid-1920s, silver prices absolutely plummeted, and it sent everything in the district belly up. We're the first group to go into the private claims on our property since production shut down, and effectively we were trying to show new life. Why did we decide to pick it up? Well, because historically Tonopah produced 174 million ounces of silver and 1.86 million ounces of gold from 7.5 million tons. Ultra high grade stuff, and they didn't leave much meat on the bones back in the old days. Now, something very interesting is happening in Nevada right now. And within the context of the silver market, this should excite us even more. But the Tonopah discovery in 1900 led to the discoveries of goldfields, and it led to the discovery of the Bullfrog District just outside of Beatty. If you drive on the highway from Las Vegas and you're wanting to go to Reno, you go from Las Vegas, you go through Beatty, you go through Goldfields, then you get to Tonopah. Well, just last week, Goldfields was picked up by Centerra Gold. They spent $200 million US to purchase the Gemfield asset from Waterton. In January, the Bullfrog District was just consolidated by Anglo Gold. They spent $600 million Canadian to acquire Corvus Gold. All roads lead to Tonopah, and I'll tell you what, those were low-grade bulk tonnage heap leach projects. Within the silver space, we're standout. We're a standout because of grade. We're a standout because when we drill, we're just putting out silver and gold. There's no lead, there's no zinc, there's no copper. We're not a byproduct. That immediately sets us apart from the competition. But the biggest thing that sets us apart is the fact that we're on private land in Nevada. Most of silver produced, most of the silver primary companies that you know of are all in South and Central America right now. And there's lots of exploration and development stories also in South and Central America that are putting out good news releases. The issue is they're not going to command an M&A premium because the headaches that the silver primary companies have at this moment, well, they're enough to cause a lot of dis-ease. You look at Fortuna in Mexico, you look at First Majestic, also in Mexico, that's now in Nevada. You look at Pan American Silver and their blockades of various mines. You look at Hochschilds in Peru with the government talking about taking away they're effectively nationalizing things or taking away mining permits. Our ounces in the ground within the context of the silver industry should be worth more than anywhere else on the planet. And I think once we get a resource out there, we're going to command one of the highest valuations in the industry per ounce in the ground because we're silver gold, because we have grade, and because private land in Nevada makes us a clear standout. Now, the Tonopah Silver District, this is the story of it on a production bar chart. Discovered in 1900, shot right up in terms of average production, and then fell off right around World War I. But the nail in the coffin was in 1923 when silver prices and gold prices became unpegged. They were $1 an ounce silver going into that. By 1930, they were down to 35 cents an ounce, and it sent everything on our side of the district belly up due to all the debt they'd taken out. This is what the district looked like in 1912 on the lower portion of your map. We've now picked up the western half of the district. So you cut this right down the middle. This is us. Now, what's interesting about this, and I'll go over to the satellite map here, is the original discoveries were on the east side of town. In fact, the town of Tonopah, which you see just directly east of our property, is there because that's where the initial discoveries were made. And this is an east-west vein corridor, east-west trending vein corridor. All that early production you saw in the early days of Tonopah discovery was on the east side of town where they found these big outcropping veins at surface. Lots of consolidation happened in the mid-1910s, and a company by the name of the Tonopah Extension Mining Company, which represents this purple package you see here, started eating up, gobbling everything of real merit on the western half of the district. And it's this that really lays the story and the narrative for what we're doing today, because what you'll see towards the northeastern portion of our property here, the story of our project is the story of the workings of the underground mines on the property. And the story is really easy to see here. You see a lot of activity in the northeastern portion. You see a lot of activity just directly east of us. That's where most of the mining took place. Now, back in the old days, they didn't do any drilling. So when they found something good, they mined it out. They'd create multiple levels, and they'd go. They'd keep going until the good eating finished. Now, what happened was in the northeastern portion of our property here, this was the thickest vein in the district, and they mined it down to the 1,880 foot level. It was called the Victor vein. Now they didn't stop mining there because they ran out of material. They stopped mining because they hit water. They decided to spend a lot of money getting water pumps and heavy duty generators built and commissioned. And these took years to do back in the day. While they were waiting, the good people at the Tonopah Extension Mining Company, they just drifted across at the 1540 level. And what did they hit? They hit a whole new series of veins. It's these veins which really lay the course for the future here, and it's these veins that they were preparing to mine in the late 1920s. They did development work on them. They effectively were setting up to start mining them, and I'll show you where it is here. This is where those workings go. They never got around to pulling those mines any ore out, simply because by the time they did, all the debt they'd taken out to fund those water pumps, to fund the development, to fund the drift across, ended up sinking the company because the metal prices had fallen by 2/3. Well, this is where we pick up today. Since we put our first drill holes into the Tonopah Extension Mining claim package, and that company went bankrupt in 1930, and it had been picked up and held by one group ever since until we got our hands on it. We're the first group to sink holes. We're picking up right where the historic miners left off. We had a proof of concept drilling, our first drill hole, which added 100 million to our market cap, effectively was that proof of concept. And since then, since June of 2020, we've drilled 115,000 meters. And what we did was we just decided to start where those workings started, where they're expecting to go into production. And we've drilled 800 meter by 800 meter resource area. This is what's going to be included in the resource, and effectively shown that the historic miners left a lot more beyond what they thought was there. And the best part is we've hitting on some extensions now beyond the resource area. The resource area includes 6 veins. We call this our DPB target. And we've hit now, and just in our last news release we put out on drill results, we've stepped out over about 350 meters on some of the veins to the west. We've stepped out on our Bermuda vein over 100 meters to the east, and we're showing some serious expansion potential. We're going to have a resource out here, and to put into context, this resource covers this area. We've connected on most of these holes, adding another, and when you include our eastern holes, that's adding another 50% of effective strike to that beyond the resource we deliver. But here's the interesting thing, and I don't think the market's caught up on this. We finished off our drill program at Tonopah West early this year. This drill program involved the last of the step outs. We have an interpretation that this east-west vein corridor actually starts trending up here. And because we've hit on those, we know we're sort of right. The last drill holes we drilled in Tonopah last year were these. We have results, or we don't have results. We've got assays in the lab right now for these holes. We project these to be the extension of the Denver vein. The Denver vein serves as the bookend at the top, and our Merton vein serves as the bookend at the bottom. We've got good reason to believe that we're going to connect on these. If we connect on these are up to about 1.5 kilometers to our property boundary. And guess what? If we connect on those, we just stake 20 square kilometers. Not only will the resource allow people to know that over an 800 meter by 800 meter area, you'll have size, you'll have tonnage, and you'll have grade. Well, when you have that, we'll have proven continuity, and then it becomes really, really easy for people to start extrapolating. Oh, well, if you've got these step outs, which are 1.5 kilometers, and you've got 800 meters of strike that look at this tons and this grade, and you've got these ounces, well, you can start doing some back of the napkin stuff very, very quickly. And the last thing I'll end on is part of the reason why, part of the process of doing resources and putting out technical reports is de-risking the project. Well, not only have we engaged a tier 1 consulting firm to do a resource, it's MDA, based in Reno, but they've got they're one of the tier 1 groups that does this, but we've also been doing some met work to show the market that the ounces aren't just there, but they're going to be recoverable ounces. And when we did the met work on this, we knew it was going to be pretty good because it's a past producer. We didn't realize it was going to be this good. This puts us in the vanguard of the silver primary gold projects globally. We took composites from 6 of our veins. It's not like we just chose what we thought was our best vein. We did high-low composites of 6 veins. We're averaging 87% silver, and 95% gold, meaning we're not leaving any meat on the bones here. And this was just basic cyanidation bottle rolls, meaning we're not going to have to spend a fortune in terms to recover these ounces. And there's going to be ways that we can look at ratcheting those recoveries up even further, like potentially looking at flotation or other issues too. But as a start, this puts us as about as good as you could possibly be. Very similar to the initial test work done by Silvercrest and Las Chispas back in their 2018 maiden resource. So we're very excited what the future has to hold. Not only do we have a resource coming out, probably, well, we're targeting by the end of this month because we've got a number of site visits lined up after that. But beyond that, we've got those step out holes in the lab, and I just want everyone to start thinking big here. One of the reasons why we have these step out holes in the lab is because we didn't want to have any junk in the basement if any major mid-tier wants to make an offer on us once we get this resource out at the end of the month, because we want to show that we've got all the upside built in that we can, and I think our geologic interpretation is looking pretty good at this point. So resource end of month, and then we've got step outs either right before or probably sometime in early April. But if that happens, game over, lights off. This is going to be the real deal. So with that, maybe Taylor, I think we're at time.
Perfect. Thank you for the great presentation, Andrew. So just a reminder to everybody on the line, you can submit your questions at any time using the Q&A button. With that, we have some that have come in. First one here, once the resource is out, and let's assume it pleases the market, what are the next catalysts in 2022 for a higher stock price apart from potentially higher silver prices?
Yeah, well, silver price is obviously half of, we've performed really well in the context of the market. I think we were one of two silver explorers and development companies that actually finished the year green last year. The other one would have been Vizsla. Everyone else was generally trading at 52-week lows or off, 20 to 30%. Now, in terms of adding value this year beyond the resource, well, I'll tell you what, we're waiting for, we know for a fact that, and if my presentation's still up, we know that we've connected already east and west of our resource area. So that's going to lay a surface resource expansion drill program. We've already laid that out. When we can get started on that probably in April with some core rigs. Now we're waiting on the results of all these holes up here that were the last ones drilled at Tonopah West. If those come in, obviously that's a big resource expansion program, and we're going to be very, very excited to do that. So what the plan will be to lay out the resource expansion program. If we hit on these big step outs, and I've got a good feeling we have, then that's going to just mean we're going to ratchet up the number of drills at the project, and we're going to aim to have an upgraded resource out either towards the end of this year or early next. And then soon after that, what we'll look to do is throw some economics on it via PEA. So that's something, the plan that, we'd be targeting early Q1 for that next year, assuming everything goes according to plan with drilling and we get all the results we need. And then beyond that, Bob's your uncle. I think that, I honestly think we'll never be more dangerous from a takeout perspective than we will once we get these resources delivered to market. Tonopah right now, you saw how the consolidation's happening in the Walker Lane with Anglo and Centerra moving in on us. Well, the consolidation potential, if I'm a major miner or a mid-tier miner in Tonopah, is unlike anything else available globally right now. This hill you see here, this is a permitted open pit heap leach mine. They've got their federal permits. That's called Three Hills. It's owned by Westvault Mining. Just south of that is Hasbrook. Between those two deposits, those are about 1 million ounces M&I. Directly east of us is Suma Silver. They've got the extension of the Tonopah Silver District on the eastern half. We've got the western half. You could bolt that on pretty easily too. Within 15 to 20 kilometers of us to the north and to the northeast, you've got two other PEA or feasibility staged open pit bulk tonnage gold projects there, all of which you can acquire cheap as chips. If someone wanted to come in and do this, you could consolidate this into a tier 1 mining camp overnight. And I think the hub for it would be what's going on the high grade vein system we have in the Tonopah Silver District, and then build out around that. So it's a very, very exciting time to be in the Walker Lane, and luckily I think we're the most exciting story down there at the moment. So